Weather fronts animations. In this video, you are going to see animations of the 4 different types of weather fronts, and you are going to create diagrams in your workbook based on what you see, and then you will also list the types of weather that are associated with each weather front. Warm fronts. This is an animation for warm front. So you are going to, in your workbook, model exactly what you see in this animation. And what I want to see in your diagram is when it stops, which is in a few moments. Okay, so what you see in this diagram needs to be in your workbook. You've got colored pencils or crayons to use. Make sure you're labeling, because the more detail you have in your diagram, the higher your score. So now, click pause whenever you need to. Warm fronts, what it says at the top, so that you can fill in the type of weather associated with warm fronts. At a warm front, a slowly moving warm air mass collides with a slowly moving cold air mass. Because cold air is denser than warm air, the warm air rises over the cold air. Clouds, storms, and rain often accompany warm fronts. If the warm air is dry, scattered clouds form. If the warm air is humid, showers and light rain fall along. So let me start that sentence over. If warm air is humid, showers and light rain fall along the front where the warm and cold air meet. Because warm fronts move more slowly than cold fronts, the weather may be rainy or foggy for several days. All right, click rewind if you need to reread the paragraphs about warm fronts, but make sure your diagram is detailed. Cold fronts. So this is an animation about cold fronts. So you're going to see what occurs to cause a cold front. And then in your workbook, you're going to draw this diagram once it's done moving. The more detail you have, the higher your score. Hit pause whenever you need to finish your diagram. The paragraph at the top says, a cold front occurs when a rapidly moving cold air mass runs into a slowly moving warm air mass. Because cold air is denser than warm air, the cold air mass remains close to the ground and sinks under the less dense warm air. As the warm air rises above the cold air, the warm air cools. It soon chills to the temperature at which water vapor in the air condenses into droplets of liquid water. Towering cumulus and cumulonimbus clouds form from the drops of water produced by the rapid rise of warm air. Because cold fronts move quickly, they can cause abrupt weather changes. Strong winds and severe thunderstorms are often linked to cold fronts. If there is enough water vapor in the warm air, heavy rain or snow may fall. But if the warm air contains little water vapor, the cold front may be accompanied only by cloudy skies. So at the bottom of your workbook page, you need to write the types of weather associated with cold fronts based on what I just read. Click rewind or pause at any time. Stationary front. This is an animation showing stationary fronts. So based on this model, you're going to draw a diagram in your workbook showing exactly what happens, and everything you see in this animation you need to include in your diagram in your workbook. Click pause at any time, especially after the animation's done moving. Okay, so now click pause whenever you need to. At the bottom of your workbook page, you need to tell me the types of weather associated with stationary fronts. So the paragraph at the top says, sometimes cold and warm air masses meet, but neither one has enough force to move the other. The two air masses face each other in a standoff. In this case, the front is called a stationary front. Where the warm air and cool air meet, water vapor in the warm air condenses into rain, snow, fog, or even clouds. A stationary front can remain stalled over an area for many days. So click rewind, hit pause, but make sure you have a lot of detail in your diagram at the top to more detail, higher score. Make sure you tell me the types of weather associated with stationary fronts.
The last front is Occluded Front.
This is an animation for occluded fronts. So make sure in your workbook you draw a diagram showing exactly what happens during an occluded front. Click pause whenever you need to, especially after the animation is done moving. Make sure you have lots of detail, because the more detail, the higher your score. Now, after you're done with your diagram, you need to, at the bottom of your workbook page, tell me the type of weather associated with occluded fronts. So this is what the paragraph at the top says. The most complex weather situation occurs at an occluded front. At an occluded front, a warm air mass is caught between two cooler air masses. The denser cool air masses move underneath the less dense warm air mass and push it upward. The two cooler air masses meet in the middle and may mix. The temperature near the ground becomes cooler. The warm air mass is cut off or occluded from the ground. As the warm air cools and its water vapor condenses, the weather may turn cloudy and rainy or snowy. So make sure, based on what I just read, you tell me the type of weather. Here is an opportunity for extra credit. If you grab a small piece of paper from Mrs. Colville's desk, please tell me, what does the word occluded mean? Put your name on the little sheet of paper, tell me what occluded means, and put it in the tray, and you may receive some extra credit points. Make sure you hit rewind or pause whenever you need, so you make sure you get all the detail, you get full credit. Okay? Good luck.